What's up, YouTube? So, had some time this morning, and kids are out of the house, and so wanted to do a discussion. I see this come up pretty often on forums and whatnot, and as kind of an old guy, I guess, to yo-yos and how all this works with the ball bearing yo-yos and everything. Um, I have comments on it, and I wanted to hear your comments. So today I wanted to talk about Vibe. I wanted to talk about Vibe in particularly in 1A, uh, you know yo-yos like ball bearing yo-yos that you use for string tricks and whatnot, because more or less it's kind of a new thing. I know some of the younger kids will be like, oh, what do you mean? It's the thing I've been concerned about for the whole time I've ever been yo-yoing, which is like a couple years. um, but it's yo-yos have been around for hundreds of years, and it's a relatively new thing to be like, oh, it needs to not vibrate. Now, clearly, they always needed to be stable, but whether or not they vibed a little bit, um, is kind of a newer thing to be concerned with. So let's talk about it. What is Vibe? So Vibe, let me get a good yo-yo out the vibes, is the vibration of a yo-yo that you can see and feel on your finger, and you can see it with your eyes and what have you. So this yo-yo is plastic. You can hear that, I hope, and it vibes. It's pretty vibey because it's plastic. You can kind of see that it's not like it's blurry, and that's because it's vibrating. Now, a lot of plastic yo-yos vibrate. They pretty much all vibrate a little bit. I would say that the Duncan Freehand Pro vibrates a little more than some of the other yo-yos that I have that are plastic, mostly because of these side caps. They're just clipped in there, and you can change them out. But that kind of brings me on to the next point. How'd the vibe get there? For plastic yo-yos, the vibe's going to vary a little bit, but for the most part, I mean, all plastic yo-yos vibe a little bit. So this is like $17, so it vibes a little bit, but it still plays really good and it's still really solid. So it's not something that I'm much concerned with. This one's actually about almost twice the price. This is a $30 plastic yo-yo. This is the Big Dipper, and if I can throw it straight, sitting down, it has considerably less vibe, but there's still some. It's just less. You can't really see it with your eyes like you can with the Duncan, but you can feel it a little bit on the rim. But for the most part, this one's pretty smooth for a plastic yo-yo, but it's got a little bit of vibe because it's a plastic yo-yo. Now, that's not to say that that's bad. Vibe can get there, a bunch of different ways. Both, just from being plastic, it's hard to tune out vibe from a plastic yo-yo, and once they bounce off of things or whatever, that's just going to be there. All plastic yo-yos inherently have just a little bit of vibe, I find. But, maybe there's some that are super smooth, but I don't think it's a big deal. I kind of like it. It could be fault in manufacturing. So I've said before that I think all the yo-yos are kind of hit and miss. Sometimes they're great and sometimes they're not so great. This one's kind of not so great. This is the Aldi Demon S. I need to do a review on this. But this one came with a little bit of vibe. And let me see if I can throw it and show you what I mean. And it's really more or less a fault in it's vibes because I think this is a B grade, not because it was. Yeah, you can see it kind of vibes. It's turning. It's not super stable either, but more or less like plastic or metal yo-yos are smoother most of the time, have less vibe, but if there's a fault in manufacturing, sometimes they vibe because of that. So with this one, as you can see, I can pull these aren't designed for me to be able to pull that out. The bearing should sit tight on the seat. It actually kind of wiggles a little bit. And the way a lot of these Chinese yo-yos are designed, the bearing's supposed to sit tight on the seat. That's why you need a bearing removal tool and what have you to get them off. This one, the bearing kind of wiggles on the seat, and you pull it off. Wasn't designed that way, not supposed to be that way. Therefore, I think that's where the vibe from this yo-yo comes from. Now, it's not terrible. The yo-yo plays fine. I didn't pay much for it. I think I paid $14 for it. It was the last one on AliExpress, and I think the reason I paid $14 for it was because it was a B grade, although they don't list them that way on AliExpress. And it came not in the box and with some extra strings and stuff. And I've come to find out now that, these would have been like $20-some in the box, and I'm assuming in the box meant it was an A grade. The $14 one meant out of the box and it was a B grade. So not that it's a problem. It's still, there's no problems with the finish. It's very pretty, looks good. I feel like all Chinese yo-yos have a little bit of vibe. Anyway, this one has a little bit more, but you know, it's not nothing to be upset about for me anyway, because I didn't buy this expecting it to be a super duper high end expensive yo-yo. But you know, so you can be, because it's plastic, fault in manufacturing. The other way, you know, yo-yo's vibe is once they get damaged. So once you bang it off the ground a few times, you're probably gonna get some vibe out of it. Now, that's not all the time. I actually don't have any beat up yo-yos over here right now. But I had to replace my Echo 2. The Echo's vibe, these vibe just a little bit more than, say, like a Yo-Yo Factory would. But the other one I had vibed pretty hard because I had beat it up so bad because I took it everywhere, and it had big scuffs and scrapes and dings, and finally all the damage was too much for it, and it stripped when I took it apart. So I bought another one. But damage is another way that you can get vibe. You know, you throw in your brand new yo-yo and you spike it off the concrete. It's probably going to have some vibe after that. Maybe not, but who knows. The other way is if you take your yo-yos apart a lot. I take mine apart a lot because I don't give a crap. If you take your yo-yos apart a lot, sometimes they'll vibe. That's not a thing so much anymore, I think. But you'll see guys a lot of times say, "No, don't take it apart ever. Pick the knots out. If you take it apart, you untune it and it gets vibe," and people freak out about it. But it's a toy; you should play with it. But you know, if you take it apart a lot, or you know, whatever, occasionally it's going to need tuned. Maybe, depending on what it is. So, you know, that's another way that yo-yos can get some vibe to them. Talking about tuning, how do you get it to stop? How do you get it to stop? Well, can you get it to stop? Can you get the yo-yo to stop vibing? Maybe, maybe not. With some yo-yos, let's take this beautiful one drop, for example. Some yo-yos are side effect yo-yos, and if they're not cranked all the way, if they're a little bit loose, like if they're just hand tight, sometimes they'll have vibe, and you'll be like, "Why is my yo-yo vibing? I don't understand it." And well, crank it. That's how you tune a side effect yo-yo. You're not going to break this. And if you do, you just change the side effects, because that's all you're going to break. So if it's uncranked, if it's just hand tight, let's see, that probably won't make this vibe, but if it's just hand cranked, you know, you might get some vibe, just because it's not tuned all the way. And it's actually still pretty smooth, but you know, if you crank it, you can get it smoother. And you know, it's a just a thing. Maybe you can tune them, like I said, with the Wonder Up stuff. Crank it, get a little smoother. You know, if you're one of those guys that needs to have that super butter smooth, you know, maybe that's why you bought a Wonder Up, because they are super butter smooth. You can tune it. Other ways to tune it are, let's find another yo-yo to pick apart here. What you can do is you can tune the axle a little bit by dropping it on the ground. Now, so you pull the axles out. So, pull it out. Here's the axle. And you can flip it around So what I'm going to do with this, maybe it'll help. Screw it back in. So now it's flipped around. And you can screw the yo-yo back together, see if it's better, see if it's worse. If it's better, great. If it's worse, pull it out again and try the other side. You can also crank down on yo-yos like this a little bit, but don't do it too hard because you'll strip it. This yo-yo is not going to be tuned because the bearing seat's loose. It has nothing to do with the axle. So this one's not going to get any better regardless of what I do with the axle. But you could tune it by flipping the axle and doing stuff. Sometimes, if the vibe was created, if the yo-yo showed up with vibe because it was a B grade, that's probably just going to be there. If the yo-yo has vibe because you spanked it off the ground and made a big dent in it, sand over the dent, play with the yo-yo. Now you have an outside yo-yo. Is it always going to be able to be something you can tune out? No, absolutely not. But who cares? I see a lot of guys get real bent out of shape about vibe and about yo-yos that they get with a little bit of vibe, and they talk about how minimal the vibe is and how it drives them crazy and all that. And it's like, I don't want to tell you how to play with your toys, but get over it. I mean, it's just a little bit of vibe. It's a yo-yo. God, I mean, up until recently, everything vibed a lot, real hard. Man, I mean, yo-yoing has changed so much in the last couple of years, 10 years, that now it's like, oh, vibe is fun, man. That's how you know the yo-yo's on the end of the string and that it's spinning. A little bit is perfectly fine. Now, if it's wobbling on the end of the string, or if the vibe is actually damaging the play, I have some occasionally big plastic yo-yos. I feel like can fall into that category. The Daydream. I feel like if it's not perfectly screwed together and even then, like, they can get kind of real vibey, and like it can kill the spin times and occasionally wobble and become unstable. So that's a little too much, I think. And I think there's a level of, like, if vibe makes a yo-yo become unstable, then it's not really vibe. Then it's just like kind of there's a problem. But if it's just a little bit of vibe, like you can feel like a little bit of vibration on your fingertip when you throw it, but that's it. It still plays good. It still spins good. It still, has good spin time and everything. I mean, it's really not worth it to get all bent out of shape about it. I really think that, a little bit of vibe, a lot of players even think that, like, a little bit of vibe is really what they want, because then they can feel it on the string. They can, they can really feel the yo-yo, as opposed to, like, just throwing something and not knowing if it's spinning or what have you. That was kind of when I first kind of got into, like, the newer style of ball bearing yo-yos, because I was out of the game for a long time. That was one of the things when I got my first one drop benchmark. This blue one is super, like, it. When you throw it, you don't even know that it's spinning. And it's like, holy crap, that's spinning. Like, I didn't know, and it was hard to, like, get used to that. I've since changed the side effects and stuff, and that's it. I'm not saying it vibes, but it's, the bearing was silent and it just spun. So it was like, you didn't know if it was spinning or if it was just staying completely still. That was kind of weird to me and took a while to get used to, but I realized it was just the quality of the yo-yo, as opposed to anything else that was wrong with it. Nothing was wrong with it. It was actually perfect, but everything needs to be just a little bit imperfect for me, I guess. So anyway, guys, like, subscribe. What do you think of vibe? Does it drive you nuts? Doesn't drive me nuts. I really think, as a community, we kind of need to get over it a little bit and sort of, just play with fun shapes and demand fun shapes for good prices, as opposed to, like, demanding something be absolutely perfectly dead smooth and perfect. I think we really need to focus on having fun more, and I think there's sort of a movement towards that, towards just having fun rather than dead smooth competition stuff. But what do you think? So anyway, guys, like, subscribe, let me know your thoughts in the comments down there. Thanks so much for watching. Let me know what else you want to see. You know, I'm just hanging out making videos on my cell phone. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Cheers to you, and we'll see you next time.